So welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Oh, Don.
Tina Miller here, Don Clark here.
Yes, your
You
favorite
just joined
pair
us.
on the air.
Boss's Day tomorrow.
Yes.
So
yes.
Tina went out and found one of the finest bosses in Bakersfield. He's
Yes.
here right now. We're talking about Morgan Clayton, and I love to brag on this guy because as a young man, I mean, if you think opportunity does not exist in America, this guy grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, dead poor, taking his showers before school with a garden hose out in back of the garage.
Wow.
And now one of our most successful men, serves on so many boards. And so Morgan, just quickly the nature of your business and how many employees you now have in that business.
Wow. Don and Tina, thank you. Today, essentially, Teltech Security started 33 years ago, believe that or not.
Okay.
We service about 75 employees that service California, and I have about 20,000 customers that we take care of every day, and we continue to really expand because of networks and all that good stuff. So we are an alarm company, technology company, drone company. We do all kinds of interesting technology to protect people and protect their assets while God gives us all these wonderful talents to do all that stuff. Yeah.
Morgan, early in my career, I had a chance to move into a management position as a news director. Never managed anything in my life, always just been a reporter with my notepad and stuff. And I made more mistakes in management and lost one person for every mistake I made. And what lessons have you learned that have made you a good boss, and what your employees would say, that's a good boss, fun to work with?
Well, probably the beginning of it would be after my mom and dad died and I had to take care of myself, and not knowing fundamentally how to do that because I had no one teaching me. My grandma said something that I still do today as a leader, as a servant leader. When you step into any environment serving one, more, or where two or more are gathered, if you fill yourself up in the morning with all the stuff and your coffee cup is full and you walk into whatever environment, how can you serve? Because my grandmother would say, empty thyself half of the cup so God can fill the other half with what you need to do. So I think that the idea of being a leader is to walk in with a half cup so that you're able to listen, you're able to focus, and you're able to give and receive information, because as a leader, you are a servant leader, not a dictator. So I think that's the key, is even though we have gifts and we apply those gifts to receiving God's blessing and resources, money, whatever, we're not in a position to change lives. So I always say help, not harm.
Early on, did you try the authoritarian, dictatorial, heavy-handed form of management, and how'd that work?
Here's how it worked. Basically, today's environment, we have all the millenniums, going back to the first generation, first World War II people, very, very committed to building, serving, wanting something to happen.
Yes.
Down to what we have now, which are the clickers, people who are the texters, where you have to understand that there are times that you must use discipline and direct. Therefore, there was a time, Don, when I would say, build it and they will come, and you build it. But there comes a point when you're dealing with a new generation of youth, a new generation of learners, they don't accept that. They need more collaboration. So I think the transformation is knowing when to use discipline and collaboration, and I have crashed and burned using them in reverse. And so the learning is I pause. And that's a term you'll see me use on corporate boards or with people or churches. I say, when you enter into this space where you think you know, you really don't.
Right.
And unless you are quiet and pause and listen, that's when you'll receive direction. But when someone's talking all the time, I say it's them talking. You have to pause.
I hear many bosses complaining about the younger generation that the work ethic is not what it used to be. Have you found that to be true, and how do you cope with that?
Here's how I cope with it, because we have actually every generation in my corporation. We have all of them. And I guess I could quickly tell you what they are.
Yes.
Be very interesting for you to know as I put on the things that help us to understand the scriptures better. Like glasses.
Glasses.
So bear with me here. At Teltech, we have the traditional generation.
Okay.
We have the baby boomer.
Right.
We have Gen X, Gen Y, and we service the LinkedIn, which are the kids in high school today. Here's how we do it, Don. When we walk into Teltech, what I teach is, and what I try to show by example is this. When I come to you and I ask you to do a task, the deliverable is, do you want to do the task at home or do you want to do the task at work? The issue for me is, how do we get the job done efficiently, correctly, and on time? And what's happened in the work environment is we normally clock in, clock out.
Right.
The new generation clocks in and clocks out through their texting. So you can, in fact, some of our staff, we actually direct the work to them at home. And they do what they have to do. And as long as everything is done in accordance and it's done in a way that is decently and in order, I'm good.
Yeah.
So the change has been not to expect everyone to show up and clock in, but to really ask, what's the mission of what needs to be accomplished?
Wow,
That's what a boss does. And that's where you see the change of generations, where you will look at some businesses and you'll start to see this. They'll start selling off.
So you have involved as a leader. That flexibility has led you into different. You get the same job done, but you do it in newer and different ways.
Yes, and here's an example of that. Being in business 33 years, I get into my 25th year, and I prayed deeply about this, and I say, what is it that I need to be doing and call transformation of assets and things that really, when God takes me, it stays here, I go. I'm cool with that. I'm good. So I tell my children, are you ready to receive this transformation, or should I sell it off? So 10 years ago, we started our succession plan, 10 years ago. So today, my daughter is the general manager of the corporation.
Wow.
My son Tyson is the technology developer who works between Los Angeles and other countries, and he's a technology wizard. My son, who is a productionist who does this kind of stuff, but he does it with technology, where we're actually going out to do the first drone, San Jose kind of worldwide drone thing with Fox and all the other worldwide people next month. And we're bringing all that back together in a succession plan, and all I do is watch and navigate the wisdom of it to say, how do we produce it, service it at a cost where people will buy it?
That's the leadership of a good boss.
Morgan, when you pulled out your
go.
glasses, you said that it helps you read the scriptures better. How do the scriptures figure into your leadership model?
Daily.
Daily.
He that does not search the scriptures daily has not yet wise to what God wants them to do. I search the scriptures daily. And what that means is, in the morning, I rise at 4:30 every morning, Don. That's my mantra. And in the morning, pause, reflection, which is simply a total quiet time where I'm lifting up not only the praise, but asking for direction, for guidance. At noon, after I get through with Rotary, there will be another pause. And that is, has my behavior as a leader, as a father, as a community person reflected what God wanted me to do that day? And then at night, before my family goes to sleep, is to pray over them in silence, to ask, is there anything I have forgotten? And I do that every day.
Boy, that's a formula for success.
Yes.
So it's not reading the word, it's acting on it in my life. And then demonstrating it by pausing. One example would be an employee I have is going through a terrible time connecting family and work because he's got a lot of family. So he came into my office and says, how did you do it? I said, go outside and read our corporate mission, vision, and values. Family first. Stop working here so much and go home more. Rather than working more at work. Most bosses wouldn't say that.
Right, I was about to say.
So I put in place practices where I want a healthy employee that is willing to understand what he wants them to do, and then I can manage from there.
Morgan, we've got 2 minutes. You mentor you mentor so many young men and women. What's the most important thing you tell them about developing successful lives?
I just spoke to 200 CSUB, Bakersfield College students. I just spoke to 2,000 high school students preparing for my conference in March. And here's what I said to them. You have to realize when you get up in the morning, you have two gifts. And ask yourself this gift. When you went to sleep and your eyes opened, who did that? Who did that? And then you're able to see. And then you breathed that breath of life. Where did that come from? Did your mom or your dad, who woke you up?
Ooh.
When you were asleep, in sleep, who woke you up? So if you want to know what that is, find the passion that's within you and then ask that question. So what I say to them, Don, is find out what you were created to do. And that is, what do you love? You, Tina and Don, love media. You live it, you breathe it. I love security. I love protecting people. But most of our youth don't understand how to find their talent because there's so much noise. And I'll challenge you by saying this to our audience and our friends.
Yes.
Go into a fellowship, whether it's work or faith, and ask yourself, when is there a pause of silence to praise God? Just a pause.
Yes.
Because you can't listen and talk and receive at the same time. So for me, as simply a humble servant who serves and I try to be a good servant leader, and I ask my employees before I left, said, tell me before I come and see Don and Tina before we close, what is it that I do that makes you stay 30 years? I've got employees that have been there 30 years, 25, over 50%.
Oh.
And they simply said this. I really kind of humbled me a little bit. They simply said, you're a good man. And I walked out, I said, that's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not
You're
bad.
a good man, Morgan Clayton.
That's what they told me. So
Yes.
Let's just pause and say thank you for 2 years of doing this show.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
and you receive it. There it
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yes. And
How to be good to your boss.
absolutely. When we come back, we'll hear about some nice gifts you can probably get for your boss. Good men and good women. Christina Giese up next, and more with Morgan Clayton when we come back.